How we doing, everybody? It's your guy Wardy here. It's June 26, 2025, and I'm amped up to get into our latest video here today, folks. Because not only did the New York Mets win this past night's game by a final score of 7-3, headlined by Juan Soto blasting 2 home runs, now 10 home runs in just the month of June alone. So if you want to see my initial reaction and breakdown of that from this past night's post-game show, make sure to do exactly that after watching this, and thank you so much in advance for doing so. Because, folks, we know David Stearns has been plenty active on the trade front, and he will be plenty active leading up to this year's MLB trade deadline, which is why we've highlighted plenty of reports here on the platform over the past 2 weeks to suggest that the Mets are connected to multiple players and there are areas of need. From the rotation to the bullpen to parts of the outfield and infield, we know David Stearns is going to be adding, but the great question is to what degree and for who exactly? Well, folks, we do have some new reports that have dropped over the past 24 to 48 hours, which in fact suggests that yes, Luis Robert and Aroldis Chapman make endless sense. You could argue too much sense for this Mets team via trade. We're going to get into not only the odds of the Mets laying these players, which are far greater than other competing teams, and I'll expand as to why that exactly is, where this reporting initially stems from. What are you getting in the players of Luis Robert and Aroldis Chapman? Unless you guys have been living under a rock, you might know a thing or two about said players that we're going to get into today. But all the pros, the cons about their game, their immediate impact, what it may take to acquire said players, the likelihood, unlikelihood, and everything in between. So thank you guys kindly for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in, as we're not only breaking down these players, but we're actually going to wrap up today's segment by talking a bit on the prospect front, going from Port St. Lucie all the way up to AAA Syracuse, as this will be a combination with our Mets updates segment that we always do, everybody. So sit back, relax, and get yourself set for our latest Mets breakdown. But thank you guys again for hitting those buttons as you first chime in, as always, as well as hearing from today's video sponsor. Hey Mets fans, if you love diving deep into the numbers like WAR or ERA, then you absolutely are going to love what today's video sponsor Moomoo brings to your investing game. Think Moneyball, but this time for your portfolio. I'm beyond excited to share that Moomoo, the proud trading platform of the New York Mets, is here to level up your investing. Moomoo is a global trading platform currently serving over 25 million users in markets like the United States, Canada, Singapore, and Japan. Whether you're just starting out or if you're a more seasoned trader, Moomoo's app and desktop platform offers commission-free trading on stocks, ETFs, and options, no contract fees either. So plus, you get premium tools, guys, whether it's going to be the institutional grade analytics, Morningstar research, and analyst ratings, all free for funded users. And right now, Moomoo is doubling down for Mets fans. Sign up through my exclusive link down below, make a qualifying deposit, and get up to, yes, 60 free stocks, plus not 1 but 2 Mets Suite tickets. Not to mention, Moomoo customers can get free tickets to all Monday home games at Citi Field, and who knows, you may even see me at a game. And with 0 commissions and 0 contract fees on stock and ETF options, you keep more of your wins. Are you guys ready to trade smarter? Download Moomoo now and swing for the financial fences. And shout out once more to Moomoo for being an amazing sponsor here on the platform. Okay, folks, let's get right into this, and let's first begin with the reporting, like I said, that has dropped over the past 24 to 48 hours here. And mind you, what the Mets do via trade, whether it's going to be in the next couple days or leading up to the actual MLB trade deadline itself, we're going to be having it all covered for you here, especially a big MLB trade deadline day live show there on July 31st here. And that's not only thanks to all you amazing friends, but also our great sponsors, not only at Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets, SeatGeek, in which you guys can get 10% off your next ticket purchase if you head over to SeatGeek there and utilize our promo code WARDY10 down below in the description, or our great friends there at BetUS that has you covered on the casino and sports betting front. Bet responsibly, because today, folks, let's first, as I just mentioned, get into the reporting and where initially it stems from, and it begins right here, right now, everybody. So without further ado, as you guys can see, Jeff Passan came out with an article this past day or so, which highlights, the top 50 trade candidates leading up to the MLB trade deadline, and ultimately where he sees these players landing and what are the likely best fits for them. And when Jeff Passan goes out of his way to make a piece like this, he's not just doing this on hearsay and I think this guy makes sense for this team. No, it has a lot more to do with what he's hearing throughout the industry and knowing that these teams are actively pursuing these players, specifically when we get into the front of the bullpen, because we know with AJ Minter and yes, Danny Young down with injury for the entirety of the season, the Mets need true stability of a southpaw option out of their bullpen. And while there is upside with Brooks Raley, I'm looking forward to Brooks returning to this bullpen as he's ramping up his rehab, coming back from reconstructive Tommy John surgery, should be entering the fold for this bullpen bullpen sometime in the month of July, rather. Regardless, though, folks, we would love some more high leverage ability there, especially as a flame-throwing southpaw option. And when you think of guys that make sense for this Mets team, what we see in the article here, because Passan highlights multiple players for the Mets that make a lot of sense based on various levels of linkage, but there is one reliever in particular that has been linked to the Mets plenty, not only this season, but over the past couple of years, and does make an abundance of sense for them, everybody. Let's get into what you guys need to know about here and Mr. Yes, Aroldis Chapman and the New York Mets and this current connection, because Aroldis Chapman, everybody, he looks like he might just be the perfect fit for this Mets team, if not is the absolute best perfect fit for this Mets team as a reliever option. Let's expand as to why exactly that is, because Passan went on to highlight how the Mets are absolutely one of the top teams linked right now that makes sense as the best fit for Aroldis Chapman via trade, and I don't fault him for saying that, because not only does he have the backing throughout the industry to suggest that the Mets are in the market for Chapman, but should the Red Sox be sellers after they trade away Rafael Devers? They're 3-6 since then. Color me shocked, Craig Breslow. It's almost like when you trade away your best player on the team, it's not going to lead to immediate success. Who would have thought? But in the case of Aroldis Chapman, however, everybody, at the young age of 37, he has been a fine wine. And say what you will about Aroldis Chapman when it comes to the individual off the field. Trust me, I'm not here to advocate for who Aroldis Chapman is as a human being, as a person, but what I am here to advocate for is who he is as a pitcher. And as a pitcher, he is amongst the best in Major League Baseball. What Chapman has done this year for the Red Sox has been stupidly good, and the only reason why I'm not showing you Red Sox highlights and I am instead showing you Chapman highlights against, as a Pittsburgh Pirate, is because of the David Stearns connection here. This is why Chapman to the Mets is just one of many factors as to why it makes endless sense, and it begins with the David Stearns connection. David Stearns tried very hard to sign Aroldis Chapman initially to begin the 2024 season. For those that don't know, the Mets offered Aroldis Chapman 1 year of $8 million on a contract leading up to the 2024 year. Chapman respectfully declined and took a couple $1 million more to actually sign, believe it or not, with the Pittsburgh Pirates, where then he was traded around the deadline to the Kansas City Royals, if I'm not mistaken, this past season. And now entering the fold in 2025, Chapman, as you guys see from the numbers down below, is putting up jaw-dropping numbers. He's having an arguable career year for a 37-year-old reliever, as insane as that is to say, doing his best Kirby Yates impression from this past year with the Rangers, if you know you know. But in 36 games and 33 innings, a 1.36 ERA, a 2.15 expected ERA, a 1.86 FIP, and just over 2 SI ERA, a 0.82 WHIP, 48 strikeouts over the span, just a 13 K per nine to a sub-3 walks per nine, the best K to walk ratio that Aroldis Chapman, I feel like, has ever had in his career, close to everybody, because Chapman is usually walking everybody and their mother. Last season, he averaged roughly 6 walks per nine. The year before that, he averaged 5.5 walks per nine. The year before that, he averaged 7 walks per nine in his final year with the Yankees. Full season the year before that, Chapman has not put up a walks per nine in this long of a sample size that we've seen since the 2016 season, where he was on 2 teams with the Reds and then debuting with the Yankees. It has been that long since Chapman has been this effective at not only commanding the strike zone while still being as uber dominant as he is in the K rate, because he is putting up absurd numbers right now. And the best part is that the expected numbers tell you that this really is not much of a fluke at all. He has a home run rate right now that's at 0.55. Again, the best home run rate that Chapman has ever had since going back to the 2019 Juice Baseball season with the New York Yankees. And when we talk about the Yankees, that aspect is important, everybody, because the New York Yankees got a lot of great years out of Chapman. They also got some really bad playoff performances, including the Altuve bomb there against the Astros, among many other things. But Chapman has everything you need as a Mets team. And if you're David Stearns trying to land a high leverage relief option, he has all the experience in the world, championship experience, a 2-time World Series champion that we saw with the Chicago Cubs, as well as the Texas Rangers. Hilariously enough there, he was in a 1-year stint with both of them. With the Cubs, he was only there for half a season, as that was the El Kraken trade, if I'm not mistaken, where Gary Sanchez was a part of the trade that went back to the Yankees when he was dealt there in 2016. Or so. Then we saw Chapman in 2023 with the Texas Rangers in a one-and-done year. That was about it, but he still helped win them a dance that year. So a lot to love in Aroldis Chapman and what he's been doing the past all throughout his career, not just his past season alone. He's on a 1-year, $10.75 million contract that the Mets can eat literally without a problem whatsoever. And now you not only add in the championship experience, it's a New York experience. Chapman was a reliever with the New York Yankees for how long? We're talking from 2016 or so, or 2017, 2016 range, all the way to the end of the 2022 season, getting to himself to 2023. So he was with them for a long period of time, had a lot of success, a lot of playoff mileage as well. He knows exactly not only what it takes to win, but he knows how to handle a clubhouse as a veteran, and most certainly one that's trying to win in a win-now stage. Chapman has everything you're looking for, especially the dominance as a southpaw option. Mets fans, you cannot sit here with a straight face and tell me that you don't think it would be arguably the most dominant duo in Major League Baseball if you had Aroldis Chapman setting up Edwin Diaz in the 9th inning, or vice versa, depending on matchups. That would be not only electric, everybody, but that could be the best 1-2 punch in all Major League Baseball today when evaluating the flamethrowing southpaw for an Aroldis Chapman, who's sitting 99 plus on the gun right now this season, who's touched 104 already plus this season when he's 37 years of age. Make it make sense. I don't know how, but the guy is unbelievably good. Then you add in Edwin Diaz, who's been nails in save situations all year long this year at this point, knocking on wood, and you have yourself a perfect pairing. That not only solidifies the Mets by landing a true huge high leverage option in this bullpen, but it helps fortify and balance everything else out, so you have to dabble less to the question marks to handle high leverage situations, when in reality they should be in the 6-7 inning spots among others. So guys, Aroldis Chapman, what else do you guys need to know about him? Well, let's just take a quick look at how sexy and how beautiful Aroldis Chapman's numbers are, courtesy of Baseball Savant, everybody, because as you guys can take a look, yeah, they are ridiculous right now. I mean, like, all you can do is kind of giggle when you kind of see this stuff, because otherwise I don't really know how else you can react as a fan, right? He's in the 91st percentile right now in pitching run value. He's in the 91st percentile in fastball run value, 67th in breaking run value, 72nd off speed run value, 99th in expected ERA, 99th in expected batting average, 98th in fastball velocity, sitting right around 99. Average exit velocity just below league average, meaning that even when he's giving up exit velo, he's just around league average, which is tremendous for a guy that throws as hard as he does. He's not giving up nearly as much of a hard hit rate as he has in years prior. And mind you, that's still with a 25% hard hit rate this season, but I still think that there's potential for that to get better. 97 the extension, because he's got that full 6'4", 235-pound frame. 63rd percentile in barrel percentage, 57th in walk percentage, 99th in K percentage, 98th in whiff percentage, and 94th in chase percentage. You are fooling yourself if you do not think that Aroldis Chapman would be a huge pickup for this Mets team. And the best part of it all, everybody, is that knowing that Chapman is 37 and on a rental contract, it's not going to cost a complete arm and a leg to acquire him. Will you have to get into a bidding war for Chapman? Probably. It's hard to envision that not to be the case for a Red Sox team that will likely be selling, especially pieces like Chapman, to contending teams. But the Red Sox are not going to want to trade in the AL East much. They're certainly not going to want to trade there in the American League in general all that much. So the National League is where I can see Chapman landing. And secondly, with the Mets versus other competing teams for Chapman, they do have enough depth in their farm to consider giving away some pitching talent as well on their end, should they wish to do so. That are maybe not the more heralded prospects, but more maybe your 5, 6s through 10 plus on the rating for pitching prospects, as well as certain infield and outfield prospects. You're going to have to give up something to get something naturally, but Chapman should not be a guy that's going to cost you an ultimate top prospect, even as much as Craig Breslow and the Red Sox are going to do their best to try to push for that. And if you do have to give up a top prospect for Chapman, just make sure it's not one that you're going to lose any sleep over. Make sure it's one that's kind of more blocked right now with their immediate impact for this team. And you have to hope that the immediate return will be Chapman helping this Mets team get all the way to the promised land. Because listen, Chapman is not far removed from being a guy that not only has championship experience, but a guy who knows what it's like to be a part of a trade where you're there just to know your role, help win a championship, and then you're out of Dodge just like that. He's done that before in Chicago. He's done that before in the past with other clubs as well. Why not he do that here with the New York Mets when he already understands New York City and how the fan base is to handle New York baseball better than most as is? And then you add in the connections with Desi Druskull as well. Of course, Clay Holmes there, Carlos Mendoza, the list goes on and on. There are plenty ties between Aroldis Chapman and this Mets team. So it goes without saying, everybody, if you're the New York Mets and you're David Stearns, who are actively connected to Chapman, then it would be foolish for you not to do your best, and that is to make sure you go ahead and land said reliever. Let me know all your thoughts about Aroldis Chapman, everybody, in the comments down below. If you're for or against the man coming to Queens, because is the likelihood possible? Yes. Is it overly likely? I can't give you an exact percentage right now, but I would say that the Mets landing Aroldis Chapman is at least there, close to that 50% range when you bear in mind all the other factors that go in hand with. One, the Red Sox need to make sure they are for certain going to sell him, trade him away. And secondly, the Mets need to make sure that they are comfortable in the position that they are in to try to land said player with what the asking price is going to be. But now, guys, getting on to Aroldis Chapman, let's now go from talking about Aroldis, who I think we can all agree is the most exciting player between the two players that we're breaking down in today's video, at least on the trade connection front, because the other is a guy that is a complete bounce-back candidate. That is the only thing that the Mets are banking on in the case of this player, everybody. So without further ado, let's go from talking about Mr. Aroldis Chapman, the flamethrowing southpaw, to getting into Mr. Luis Robert for the Chicago White Sox, because Robert is a player that we have highlighted plenty on the platform, so this shouldn't be overly surprising that you guys see there. But to expand more on Luis Robert, what exactly you're getting in someone like him, everybody, it is as follows. Because Robert, I'll be the first to say that as someone who has heavily advocated for him each of the past couple years right now, I know that he's fallen off a cliff. I know that Robert is far from the guy who put up 30-plus home runs and had a tremendous season just 2+ years ago. Between injuries as well as inconsistencies and having no reason to really get up in the morning to play for the White Sox other than the fact that you need to for your paycheck, there is no kind of self-confidence in Robert right now, nor does he have any self-confidence in the team he's playing for. That is a very easy way to find yourself going from being a productive player to an unproductive player because you're really not happy about the situation that you find yourself in. I know Mets fans, you may say to yourself, you know what, that's entitlement. This guy's in the league for a reason. He gets paid the big bucks. He needs to go out and perform. And while I don't disagree with you, that is not how every player mentality works. And that's clearly evident based on the lack of production that we've seen from Robert over the past couple of seasons. Injuries aside, everybody. But why am I talking about Luis Robert right now, everybody, outside of the connections that he has had with the Mets going back to the beginning of the season? Well, I'm also talking about Luis Robert because a report came out just this past day, along courtesy of Bob Nightingale, everybody, that you guys will see as a following. And I also want to give shout out to my guy, Michael Marino. Michael, who's done a very good job in the past here covering all MLB-wide topics there leading up to the MLB trade deadline, usually has some nice sources to share, and he's been on the platform too. So I'm wishing Michael the absolute best right now. But Michael did highlight from Nightingale's latest report, and for those that don't know Bob Nightingale, he is one of the main reporters for MLB coming out of especially that you will see for USA Today. And while Bob is not right every single time, he certainly has his credibility, and he has been on the money with a lot. And as you guys can see here, the likely Robert being traded, barring an injury, just about 100%. As the White Sox don't want him, the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies are keeping close tabs on him. And this is also not at all surprising because north of a month ago, we heard the initial rumblings between Robert and the Mets, especially when the Mets first made the initial move there. At least they were initially thinking of making a move to trade for a center fielder after Jose Siri went down with injury. But now that Jose Siri has been placed on the 60-day IL list, I'm sure it's retroactive, but knowing that there is not an immediate return for Jose, which is very unfortunate to say, the Mets would like a reinforcement there in the outfield. Even with how good Tyrone Taylor has played in stretches, and Jeff McNeil's bat has played so good that it's really hard to not keep him in the lineup, whether that's in left field, center field, or at second base. You got to make it work, because if it's hot, keep that puppy hot and keep Jeff swinging the bat as good as he has. So what a great story Jeff McNeil has been so far this season. I'm so happy to say that and swallow my pride as someone who's been wrong plenty about Jeff in the past. I'm always happy as a Mets fan to see the players succeed. The same way I'm happy the Mets trade for Luis Robert. The same way that I'm happy if they not only trade for him, but the confidence I have in the Mets if they would trade for him and the immediate impact that he would have. And here's why. Because when you look at the numbers down below, you say to yourself, Luis Robert is absolutely horrendous. The guy is absolutely washed. There is zero reason whatsoever to go out your way to try to land him. And while I understand those rightful criticisms to a degree, it's to a degree, and here's why. 8 home runs, 32 RBIs, 22 stolen bags, a $185, 270, 313 clip, good for 0 WAR and 63 WRC plus, roughly 40% below league average as a batter. Robert's been horrendous, and that's why when you look at his career numbers, it's still a 257 average, 310 on base, and a 454 slug. Somehow, some way, his career numbers are still that good because Robert is a better player than what you're seeing right now. And Robert, if we go back to just 2 seasons ago in 2023, had his full breakout season with the White Sox. And this is important for a White Sox team, mind you, that while they weren't the best, they certainly weren't as bad as what they are right now. And Robert had 38 home runs, 90 runs scored, 80 RBIs, 20 stolen bags that season 2 years ago, with a 264 average, a 315 on base, and a 542 slug. Good for 28% above league average. The year prior, as a 24-year-old, in 98 games, he had 12 home runs, 56 RBIs, 11 stolen bags, a 284, 319, 426 clip. Good for 11% above league average as a batter, but he was both plus offensively and defensively, which is why he was a 5-WAR player in that 2023 season with the 38 home runs. In 2021, his age 23 season, I should say, he had 13 home runs, 43 RBIs, a 338 average, a 378 on base, and a 567 slug, good for 55% above league average as a batter, and 3.4 WAR in just 68 games. For context, he is a 0 WAR this season in 73 games. So what has changed so much about Robert, and can he at all find himself getting back in the groove of being a productive batter again? It's a great question, everybody, but you have to wonder, is this going to happen? The White Sox, not a chance in heck it's going to. The only way that Robert is going to get back to being a productive player at this point in his career, more than likely, is if he has a change of scenery. And that change of scenery may very well be the New York Mets. And I understand the reservations with a guy like Robert. I know I can completely get why some of you guys don't love the idea of bringing in what is really a reclamation project in the hopes that you can get him back to either what he once was in 2023 or at least the flashes of what he was in 2023. And my response to that is, Robert is such an obvious candidate to succeed outside of Southside Chicago with the White Sox. I mean, it's the most obnoxious, obvious candidate of a guy that just needs a change of scenery. Robert, just imagine what his immediate excitement and impact would be for this Mets team if he goes from playing with the sorry Chicago White Sox of Southside to the New York Mets, who are trying to get beyond 6 games of the NLCS against the Dodgers a year ago, who have Juan Soto on their squad, who have Francisco Lindor, who have Pete Alonso, who have WardyNYM, who have so many key pieces on the offensive and pitching end to have you excited as a fan. And you really think that Robert would put up this same production if he was with the Mets? Not a chance. And that's exactly why David Stearns is being so uber aggressive trying to land him, as is the case with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies have loved Robert for years, as has been the case with the Mets. They have both been long linked to Luis Robert. And 2 years ago, I would have told you that if Robert was going to get traded, the Philadelphia Phillies are the team that are going to land him. And the funny thing about this, everybody, is that if we go back 4 years ago, the Philadelphia Phillies were initially the most aggressive team trying to land Starling Marte for the corner outfield and DH. And hilariously enough, Marte signed with the Mets because Steve Cohen flexed big bucks and gave him $80+ million across 4 years. We know that contract has kind of aged like milk since then, but the point is that this wouldn't be the first rodeo of the Mets going out and swooping up an outfielder that the Phillies tried very hard to land. And then when you look at trade value, Luis Robert is not a guy that you're going to have to give up an arm and a leg for. Even with his multiple years of control, there is a team option of $20 million for the 2026 season. So yeah, you're going to want to buy in big time on Robert to not only turn around and get back to being a productive player again, but be productive enough to warrant giving him the $20 million. Otherwise, you could let him walk prematurely should he wish to do so. The White Sox don't want to invest $20 million into Luis Robert next season, which is exactly why they're 100% going to trade him. And now if it's going to be the Mets or the Phillies, the Mets have more to offer than the Phillies when it comes to capital of their farm. And I think the Mets can just pull off a trade easier than the Phillies can for someone like Robert, not only because of the Stearns connections, but also because I think Robert would bode better here with the New York Mets than he would with the Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that. Maybe he would thrive better by being in a bit of a batter's park there at Citizens Bank Park for what would be at least half a season, a normal 162, should he get traded to Philadelphia, as your guy Wardy loves to call it. But Robert is most certainly a guy that is destined to have a bounce back. But the question is, will he get back to it all being the player like it was in 2023? And what I would say is, should the Mets land him, is no. Do not have the expectation that Robert is going to go back to being a 38 home run hitter. That was an anomaly of a season. That is the outlier season now. And until Robert proves his ability to stay consistent with his health and his bat-to-ball skills, we cannot sit here comfortably and say that he's going to go out and be that. I was initially suggesting that a little bit when we first had these discussions earlier this season, but I've changed my mentality and thought process on that, knowing that we are now a half season into 2025 for the most part. Robert is still performing as underwhelming as ever, but he has all the 5-tool ability with the guy that can give you 40 stolen bags a year, a player that can go gap to gap, home run ability, hit for great contact. Again, Robert can do so many different things for you, but he needs to be invested. He needs to be motivated, and defensively, we know that at his best, Robert can be as good as any there that you will see in the outfield. He can literally be one of the best center fielders at Major League Baseball if he just went out and went ahead and did it in similarity to what he did 2 years ago. He was a plus defender and offensive player. Those are so hard to come by in today's game. That's why he's a hot commodity. And knowing that you're not going to have to give up an arm and a leg, and knowing that you're buying low on him, is exactly why David Stearns has a greater likelihood of landing him. I know you guys don't love hearing that either, but let's call it how it is. Or do you want to give the Mets? Do you want the Mets to consider giving up the farm for Luis Robert, or would you rather the Mets give up, limited pieces for Robert and see if you can get at all some more upside of what you got a couple years ago from him? I'm under the firm belief that wherever Robert gets traded post deadline, deadline. He won't necessarily be lighting the world on fire right away, but I do think that he will go back to being a productive everyday player that'll warrant why you're going to go out of your way to trade for him, and could be such a Swiss Army knife with such high upside, to the point that Robert could be one of the more impactful players in your lineup and on the defensive end. But again, it all comes down to mentality, it comes down to health, and it comes down to the drive for Robert to actually want to be with the team that he's playing for. He has not been wanting to be a Chicago White Sox for over 2 years now. I can only imagine how much that switch would flip once he's finally dealt on with a team that's not only contending, but actually cares about his production, what he has to say, and wants to actually get the best out of said player. And this is not a slight on everyone in the Chicago White Sox coaching staff, but just further reaffirming how much a change of scenery can impact a player. We've seen it time and time again. I'm sure Robert would find himself in that exact same category as many others. So in the case of Robert, as well as Chapman, everybody, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on it, as we're going to talk more here on the Mets on the prospect front here in just a second, everybody. But before we talk more on the prospect front, again, I want to know what you guys think it would take to land a guy like Robert. Is it ain't crazy as this is to say, I don't think a trade for Robert would be drastically different from Chapman in the value, because of how much Robert has fallen off a cliff since then. Team control can only take you so far if you are a player now back-to-back seasons playing well below league average as a batter and defender. It just isn't going to work. And in the case of the Mets, this is where I think David Stearns could really come in, swing and pounce the way that I know he certainly wants to do. But now, guys, let's get on to talking about the prospect front, because we do have some notes to share with each and every one of you on that. But before we do exactly that, everybody, let's just hear a quick word with something very exciting that I have to share with each and every one of you. I'm going to let myself, Wardy, from a little bit ago, take it away. It's Wardy here, and as you can see, we are at gorgeous Citi Field, and folks, you can get the ultimate, the prime experience with your guy Wardy at our first ever official Wardy Day. August 1st, Mets, San Francisco Giants there for the evening game. The day after the MLB trade deadline, you, your friends, your loved ones, select Mets fans will get the ultimate experience with your guy Wardy. Not only are we going to hang out at the ball game together, but folks, look at the seating. We're going to be live here in the left field lounge. You guys will be able to chop it up with your guy Wardy. We're going to be debating as to who's the best pitcher of the rotation outside of Kodai Senga. We're going to be talking about who's the next best prospect to get called up. How do we feel about the trade deadline acquisitions? And guys, as you get back up here then, we are going to be giving you a $18 drink voucher, and with that drink voucher, you guys are going to be able to hit up the bars that we have right outside of here. So easy, so accessible. Again, prime seating, a truly fantastic experience. Our first ever Wardy Day here at Citi Field, guys, where you will get a chance to hang out with your guy Wardy. And the best part too, not only is it this amazing lounge in left field that you guys will hang out with me, but we're going to be on the field, pre-game access there for a group photo op. So I hope to see you, all you amazing Mets fans there. Click the link if you guys haven't already there to check out our available tickets, and let's go Mets. And not only are we going to be sitting here throughout the course of the ball game, you guys can also check out these seats that we have access to all here in the bar area here, right at the Milagro, where you guys can utilize your $18 drink voucher. Again, this is going to be at Wardy Day, August 1st, 2025. Oh wait, yeah, almost forgot. It's also fireworks night. Bang! Hope to see you guys there. All right, folks, so there you have it. Wardy Day. Again, I've been telling you guys all about this the past couple months, but that is the actual breakdown on how the lounge will look there in left field. I can't get over it. That exceeded my initial expectations when I got a chance there not long ago to, in fact, tour it. I absolutely love it. It's going to be so easy to navigate around there as well with all you amazing Mets fans. And the bar is literally right to the left of us. So if you guys want your drinks, want to take advantage of the drink voucher and everything else there, again, Wardy Day, the day after the MLB trade deadline, it's going to be electric, fireworks night, you name it. Check it out once more. Link down below in the description today. We still have tickets available, guys, so please make sure to check them out. We already have a lot of amazing people in the community coming and is going to, in fact, partake, and I hope to see you guys take part in it as well. A lot of fun. First time we're ever hanging out together as an active community there at the ballpark together, and most certainly will be far from the last. But without further ado, guys, final thing that I have for you is the latest on the prospect front, as well as actually a quick update. You know, I'm going to just throw this out there now because you guys will know, but Mark Vientos is going to be activated by the Mets either officially today, that being this Thursday, that being June 26th, or it'll be the 27th, this Friday. He may get an off day and not play right away. But I will just tell you this, everybody, in the case of Vientos, with him coming back to this Mets team, what's going to be the corresponding move? It's either going to be Ronnie Mauricio or Jared Young. And after Ronnie Mauricio just had a 3-hit game this past night at the time of this video coming out, you do have to wonder if that at all moves the needle a little bit to put the pressure on Jan. And you do have to wonder that if Mark Vientos does not start tonight here or does not play right away for the Mets, as he will be activated. Let's say he is not activated for the Thursday game. If he's not activated then, I guarantee that goes in part because the Mets maybe will give one last look to either Jared Young or Ronny Mauricio. And that will not shock me if that's the case. But all I'm telling you guys is expect one of those two to be sent down. I would like Ronny to stay on this team, obviously, especially after a nice productive day like that. But I also completely see the upside in him getting more consistent reps in the minor leagues. But the counter is how much greater of a player is Jared Young than Ronny Mauricio right now. And I don't think that this is an apples and oranges situation to suggest that one is clearly different and better than the other. They're eerily similar in how they're profiling as MLB bats right now. But Ronny has more flexibility when it comes to his uber athleticism, I should say. He can steal bags at a greater clip for you. He can play all over the infield and do it probably at a more proficient rate than Young, who's more of a backup first base option and DH than anything else. Ronny, you have the flexibility of playing at second, third, and of course, if you really wanted him there, even though you're not going to, at shortstop among others, and the DH position, batting from the left side mainly. A lot to like with Ronny, just a lot of raw potential and ability, but we will continue to expand more on him and what his future holds once we find that out either later today or tomorrow here on the platform. But now, guys, getting on now to the prospects for the final time, and I apologize for the constant repetition per usual from your guy Wardy, but it's for a good reason because we got a lot to break down. And here with the Port St. Lucie Mets, everybody, we did see they win their past game. They're by a final score of 1-0. They're now 39-31 on the year for St. Lucie. Love to see that. And pitching wise, let's see. Elisel, however you pronounce his name there, was throwing the rubber there for the St. Lucie Mets, and he won 5.1 shutty with a 3.13 ERA. And offensively, Davison Gutierrez went 2 for 4. Love to see that from the Mets Venezuelan catching prospect. But that's about it. Now let's get to the Brooklyn Cyclones. And the Brooklyn Cyclones won 2-1 over the Blue Claws, and they are now 50-21. Oh my God, 31 games, almost 30 games above 500. Kind of a big deal. Fantastic production, guys. And the notables: Jesus Baez ripped his 8th home run of the season. Boston Barrow ripped his 3rd home run of the year. Baez is up to 782 average, 782 OPS, and 270 average rather. Whereas we saw Barrow finally hit himself a home run, but he has not played consistently well. 219 average, 620 on the OPS. And on the pitching end, we saw Watson go 5 innings of 1 earned run baseball. Ryan Ammons, who I love as a southpaw relief option, 2.33 ERA, had a scoreless inning with 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. And Watson's at a 1.96. Love to see that there. And that's about it, guys. So now let's get on to Double-A. And in Double-A, the Rummel Ponies won big time. 46 and 23 rather is a record, and they won 5-1 was the final. And Carson Benj and Jacob Reimer, who were called up this past week, now Reimer finally had his first hit, including a couple RBIs. Shout out Reimer there. Love that. He was killing it there that we saw there in the infield and DH for the Cyclones. And Benj, who's playing the outfield, has yet to record a hit for the Cyclones, but he did have a walk and a run scored in this one. Jet Williams there had himself a 1-for-4 game, batting leadoff at second base, 296 average, 911 OPS there for the 5-1 victory. And the notables were Nick Morabito ripping his 22nd double of the year. Kind of good if you ask me, guys. Morabito, love to see that from him. And on the stolen base front, Morabito also stole his 29th bag of the season. Jacob Reimer had a couple RBIs. Love to see that there. Kevin Parada continues his hit spree, another RBI, 233 average and a 721 OPS. But when you understand the context for Kevin Parada, the former first-round pick for the Mets a couple years ago, and knowing how bad he started this year offensively, he really has come a long way. Morabito had 3 hits in this game, if I didn't say that already. Pitching-wise, it was a bullpen game, but it was a rock-solid bullpen game. Orlando looked fantastic. 2 scoreless innings with 3 strikeouts, 1.8 ERA. Won't be long before he's there with Syracuse. Nunez went 1 inning of 2 strikeout ball. That is Anthony Nunez, if I'm not mistaken, 2.51 ERA. And Shook went 3 scoreless innings, looking great there for a 3 ERA. And last but not least, the Syracuse Mets won 5-1. So every team in the Mets minors look good, and the Mets themselves, love to see that. They're 33-44, but they do have the reinforcements now. And Luis Angel Acuna has Acuna ripped not 1, but 2 doubles already. Insane. Acuna's looked amazing since being sent down, understandably so. And he's in center field. Interesting that he got center field rep right away as he was sent down. That is notable to see if the Mets will consider him more for center when they call him back up, especially as the Mets are evaluating center field options outside of McNeil and Taylor still. Very interesting. An RBI there Mark Vientos in his final game in Syracuse had himself a 2-for-2 game, including a run score there at the hot corner. Francisco Alvarez 0-for has yet to record a hit since being sent down. Don't love that, obviously. Pablo Reyes had himself a nice game there, 2 RBIs. He's looked good since being, up with his team. We saw Drew Gilbert have himself a 1-for-4 game there, batting 6th in the lineup there. 682 OPS, leaves a bit to be desired from Drew. And on the pitching end, Rico Garcia went 3 shutty there in a multi-inning relief outing. Love that from Rico. Dominic Hamill allowed 1 earned run there. De La Cruz, who I like a lot as a lefty option, but he's been not so great on the consistencies front. Felipe De La Cruz, we talked about him on the platform recently this year. 2 scoreless innings, but 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. And Tyler Zuber had a scoreless inning after kind of being rocked right away when he got called up to Mets, unfortunately. And Acuna, if I didn't say it already, did have a stolen bag. So he's doing everything right away at the Syracuse Mets level. And that, folks, is what I have for our latest Mets breakdown. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Let me know all your thoughts and comments down below on Luis Robert, on Aroldis Chapman. Which one between the two would you like to see most land in Queens if you can only pick one? And if both actually landed in Queens via trade, how would you react to that as a Mets fan? What do you think it'll take to land those players and everything in between? Thank you guys again so much for watching. Be on the lookout. Have a fantastic rest of your night, day, evening. Whenever you're watching this, check out our Wardy Day tickets down below in the description. Shout out to all of our amazing sponsors, and I'll see you all in the next one. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.